What's up, Bucs folks out there? It is another episode of Bucs Report, the aftermath. Another glorious Monday. It is February the 27th. We are almost getting to that time where the draft talk is coming up and free agency. But again, let's save that. We got Slick here in the house. What's up, Slick?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Yeah, just taking it all in. It's been a bit of slow news week for us, so we haven't really had anything really go on. I mean, I've been listening to a few podcasts from other people and what have you. So there's one with Travis Kelce giving the Bucs 2020 team a lot of props and saying that they were just unbeatable.
Of course, we know this already.
I know, but to hear it from someone, well, let's face it, as much as I mock him being the greatest slot receiver of all time, he's still one of the most talented players in the National Football League by a lot of people. So, what he's done, and even not him playing as exactly as a tight end, is still launched the tight end position into a stratosphere of something different. Yeah, picking up where Gronk left off, basically.
Yeah, you could say that as well. I would say when it comes to the popularity and the production, but when it comes to being the tight end, he is Shannon Sharp. He is Shannon Sharp.
I love JK.
A receiving tight end. But I get where you're going. But yes, I do. I when I saw that, I gave him respect and props for that, because it takes a champion and a real player who loves the game to respect another team, and it's okay.
You can't say you won with the Brady because we it's not that we won in spite of him, but it was the defense that really stopped this firepower offense that they had completely dead in its tracks. And you can't just turn around and say, "Oh, it's just the tackles. It's because of the tackles. It's because of the tackles." Because you can scheme around that shit. They got all the way to the Super Bowl with these tackles, so you can't turn around and say, "Oh, all of a sudden it's a fucking problem," because it's not.
No, but this is why the Bucs. This is why I guarantee you, within the next 5 to 6 years, this Bucs team, the 2020 Super Bowl team, is going to be a lot. It's going to get a lot more hype and production and flowers, because people are going to go, "Wow!" If you look at it, all Buc fans know the entire season, everything was against us. Nobody thought we were going to beat the Saints in the playoffs. Everybody thought they had our number. Yep. Nobody thought they were going to beat the great. We were going to beat the great Aaron Rodgers, the MVP year guy.
Mm-hmm.
Then you go into the Super Bowl. You had people believing that we were going to get blown out, because they're saying, "Oh, well, despite the Chiefs not having 2 tackles, they're saying Mahomes is just going to outshine." When common sense folks like you and myself, I told people back then, I'm like, guys, football is a team machine. This isn't basketball. One person's not going to do it. And I told people across the board, talent-wise, the Bucs have far more talent. Outside of Tyreek Hill and Kelce, the Bucs had Mike Evans, Chris Godwin. We also had
Antonio Brown at that point.
Yeah, we had Antonio Brown. We had a stacked team, much better than the Chiefs. On defense, by far, the Bucs were better. On the Chiefs defense, you just have Jones and Honey Badger back then. And he was, no disrespect, he was not the same Honey Badger. He was more of the raccoon at that time. So he wasn't a Badger anymore. He was the rodent at then. So that Bucs team is special, because they went through all the odds. And I'm happy that Kelce said that. That makes me like him a little bit more. I respect.
I didn't realize how much I'd like him listening to his podcast, because he did one with it was an interview with Gronk that he did, and I did, because I've never really heard him talk about Gronk before.
Yeah,
but the props that he was giving Gronk and Gronk was giving him as well was really nice to see. Kind of that thing go on, and it made me appreciate, because I always thought he was a bit of a prick, to be honest.
I think
how you see him on TV, like, he looks like he does look like a fun-loving guy, but I just find him with the whole jabroni act and that kind of stuff is like, if you're gonna rip off, you're ripping off the Rock's fucking phrase. It's not like if you had your own phrasing, like the whole Shannon Sharp we're killing them.
Yep. Call the National Guard. Yes.
Help is on
Right.
the way. That's his shtick, and it's Deion Sanders has got his, and all these other players have theirs. So to go up to a camera and use basically, I mean, don't get me wrong, it was funny, but you're just using someone else's like legendary phrasing.
Right. Well, as someone who's a competitor, I just like, if you're going to talk your shit, that's fine, but you also have to take the L's as well. That's what we don't like about Kelsey and the Chiefs. So, because when it's going well for them, they talk shit. It's entertaining, but when they're losing, then they start to complain. I think Kelsey, when it comes to the game of football, he can be a diva. He's productive, but when shit doesn't go his way, that's when I can't respect that. But as a person, we don't know him. When I've heard them talk, a lot of those guys, if you talk to them outside of the game of football, I think a lot of them are down to earth, and you'd be able to have a conversation. It's just sometimes it's different when you put on that helmet. Sometimes, and when it doesn't go your way, you're not gonna. It can bring out the best or worst. We've seen that over the years. Rondé and Brooks, when it wasn't going their way, the worst didn't come out of them. They took it to the next level and they overcame it. And even
I think that's what happens when you aren't a shit talker, because
yes,
when you're a shit talker, you kind of put more pressure on yourself to perform, and then it's almost like you end up coming across as a bit of a sourpuss, I suppose.
Yeah,
because you didn't get your way. Yeah, and it's all well and good when you're winning and what have you.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's why I don't, when Kelsey gets ridiculed, I don't feel for him. It's like, man, you brought this on yourself. It'd be different if you came in there and you moderately talk, but the way that they go all the time, again, sometimes with Mahomes, like when Mahomes tries to beat his checks and act tough, we just look at Mahomes like, Mahomes, no, I can't take you serious with your voice. Even when you yell, if he cussed at me, I would probably laugh. I'd be like, Kermit, now stop it. But yes, again, that Kelsey, appreciate it, man. Look, great player, and again, thank you for giving that team props, because that was a hell of a run. That was a hell of a ride that season. So I like that, and I can't wait till they talk about that team. They need to make a 30-30 for 30 on that. They will, because
because of COVID.
Well, yeah, COVID.
That's gonna add into it.
Brady leaving.
Tom Brady, the Tom Brady factor. Gronk coming out of retirement. Antonio Brown being a normal for a year, I guess.
And then you have the little understories with the Mike Evans of the world. Because, hey, before you got there, you were still a consistent receiver. How did it feel to finally get the recognition you deserve? Leonard Fournette with his issues that they tried to say that he was like in Jacksonville. That's what I'm saying. That entire team has a lot of stories that you're going to be able to break down.
Yes,
so I do think we'll be. I give it another 5 years, and then we can sit back and say, "Yep, I remember those times." But let's just hope that the Bucs are going to be relevant for the next 5 years, and they will. And I believe in this guy Canales so far with his speech and the way he's talking. I like what I hear. I think he sounds it sounds a lot more educated than Byron ever did. And
energy as well. That guy was bouncing a little bit.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. He looked excited.
Yeah, because it's a new place, and just think, he wants to do good. This is what I tell people: when you're in a new place, you want to establish good shit from the start. You want to establish
forward.
Yes, because remember, he's got to make this new team, believe. If he
and there are guys in there have play calling experience. There's guys in there who maybe dabbled at offensive coordinator in their time. There are people who have been in the league much longer than he has, or has been an assistant or an assistant head coach or something like that. So you've kind of got to win them over as well. And I remember when I moved from my team to my new team, so when I went from Worcester to Sandwell, first thing I want to do is like get hold of some sort of coaching thing. I could just get out there, bang, 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 bang. And now I've got to a point where I've earned that trust. I've earned the trust with the players and stuff. They're like, "Do you need anything?" I'm like, "Nah, I'm good. I just I can roll it."
That's right.
We do this. I was acting defensive coordinator this week at practice because our defensive coordinator had work. So that's such is life, and Just they're all asking me, "Do you need anything?" I'm like, "Nope, I got this. Don't worry." Like,
Yeah,
okay, cool.
and showing up and being there is a perfect example because when I got on the team in the beginning of the season, I was always at the practices. I was always talking to the players. I was giving them examples. I did stuff with them even when practice was over because some of the other coaches, no knock to them. We all have lives, but you still have to find a way to commit and balance. You had a few coaches that showed up maybe if there were 5 practices within 2 weeks, they would be at 1 or 2 at the most.
So they
And
saw it
then,
more as a hobby rather than
right, rather than see if I'm gonna coach, I want to leave a permanent mark to help these players because a lot of times
you never know. Someone might be giving their Hall of Fame speech, and they'll go,
ex-
I remember my guy AJ, and he pushed me, and he pushed me, and he pushed me."
yeah.
You hear about these? Who was it? I can't remember who was. Jason Garrett. They asked him in like a dinner or something like that, like which coach influenced you the most. And everyone's expecting it to be like all the coaches that he's had in his Dallas career and whatever he did in university.
Mm-hmm.
I think he was like his junior varsity coach.
Mm-hmm.
He
It,
burst
it,
out in tears.
Well, yeah, it takes the people that see the potential before anyone else. It's easy for people to say for coaches when you made it already to the professional level, but you had to start somewhere before that. It starts with belief. You can
Mm-hmm.
have all the technical stuff in the world, but if you don't have someone believing in you, then that can, yeah. And that's what I like to do. When I tell these players, I believe in you, but I can't get the work done for you. You got to do it for yourself, and that's why I enjoy Canales' speech because it didn't feel that he was lying or he was trying to give me a false sense of hope. He just told it what it is. I
Mm-hmm.
remember him saying, when we have Evans, we have these guys, but when it's time to run, we will run. But with the receivers we have, when it's time to pass, we will pass. That's the most important thing I got from that. What are you going to do in situations? Byron didn't do that. Byron was just being very egotistical. And it was like, are you trying to convince me or yourself when he made certain statements?
So this sounds to me as like and I think this is something we've all got to take into account with him play calling. I reckon he's don't expect his offenses to score first drive every drive. He's
Yeah.
going to be one of those coaches that feels out his first drive will be his I'm figuring out what works and what doesn't work
Yes.
drive, rather than I'm going to bludgeon you to fucking death.
Yes.
Obviously, if plays are there, plays are there. But I think he'll be putting out plays to see certain things just to look up what do they do when I do this? What do they do if I attack the sidelines? What do they do if I attack deep? What do they do if I go hand the ball off tackle? What will happen if I run it between the tackles?
Yep.
Those kind of simple questions that can be like, okay, they don't like it when I do this. They don't like it when I do that. And obviously, some of that will be brought in from tape from other games and what have you. So they'll have like this is what we're seeing, what we can take advantage of. Can we actually take advantage of that? No, actually, they've figured out their development areas and they've plugged those holes. So what else can I take it? What can I take advantage of instead? If they're looking after this, there's something else that they're not looking after. So I'm going to go and find that. So he seems a very probing, like he's going to try and figure out defenses rather than just, oh, I have my script and I'm going to play to my script no matter what. And that's
Amen.
kind of what we got with Byron Leftwich. The script was king.
Yep. Byron was a Russian roulette kind of caller. He just spent the revolver and just wanted to see if it was something was going to shoot out. I think Canals is going to be the assessor, as you said. He's going to assess what he has. Now, if there is something there, he will take it. But again, like you said, I hope he's the kind of guy where he's going to go, let me not just see the scheme. Let's see who's out there on the field. Okay, I see that they're going to try this, but this guy is on Mike Evans. Mike Evans is too fast for him. Mike Evans is too tall for him. So we're going to make that. Or I see that they're not loading the box. Oh, Rashad White can do this. This linebacker is better at running in this gap, but he is not good on tosses. That is what we need within our OC, and I think he'll give it to us. I'm just here. I'll be real. I I tell people don't expect this offense to fully take off and get in motion, especially if it's Trask that's the quarterback. Don't
Mm-hmm.
expect this offense to be explosive this season. We just want them to be effective. I don't see them really coming into their own until like maybe weeks 8 to 9. And that will be all right because at this point, the defense should be expected this season to be the true, like, they're gonna have to be the guys to do their job and help this offense out.
Well, second year players are going to step up and become almost vested veterans. So like the Halls are going to have to, people like Logan Hall are going to have to step up and be a starter, because you're not guaranteeing. You can probably re-sign Will Gholston. We'll talk about a little bit more free agency, because that's probably the biggest thing. Most of our free agents on the defensive side of the football, but we know that Coach Bowles, doesn't matter where he goes, does coach a very competitive defense regardless of where he goes. So we're not worried too much about the defensive side. It's how conservative his approach is going to be, because he can be a little bit passive at times, Coach Bowles. But if he has a hungry offensive coordinator and players that are like, the good thing about having some players that are on 1 year prove it deals, guess what? You want to prove it.
Yeah. And if the OC steps his game up, Bowles is going to want to step his game up, because look, this is a game. Bowles is in a season where it's like, okay, this is all you now. But
let me ask you something.
Yes, sir.
And your coach, we've all said that Coach Bowles can be a little bit passive and conservative, and he's doing his best not to lose the game, right?
Yes.
Could that be due to Byron's incompetence, that he can't trust him to be aggressive enough to go out there and get him points? So he feels he has to be conservative because he can't take any risks, because he knows his defense is like not flaws, but when you take risks, there is still a gamble. Something can come off in your gamble. And most of the time, his gambles always he rolls the dice, and 9 times out of 10 he comes up with double sixes. But there are times where he rolls snake eyes. When your offense isn't clicking, you can't roll snake eyes ever.
Yeah.
So I wonder if his passive, the way he's being passive, I thought maybe originally it came from being going to when he was with the Jets, that maybe he thought, if I just played not to lose the game and trust in my defense, we'll win the games. And that's made him. Or is it a case of he trusts his defense, but he doesn't trust his offense and doesn't trust the offensive staff enough to get him what he needs to be aggressive? Because if you're scoring like we did in 2021, you can be as aggressive as you want, because unless it's turning into a tit for tat game where it's touchdown for touchdown for touchdown, you can be aggressive because you're 14 points in the bag. You're sending blitzes because it's what players want. You know, if I'm a defensive lineman, I'm loving the stunts you're calling, boss. I'm loving all the pressures that you're calling.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're playing the boring shit, this is when we tend to switch off, and our brains aren't clicked in because I'm not excited about what's being called.
Yep. I think, to answer your question, it's a little bit of both. I do think that he didn't believe in Byron, which but with that being said, I also don't believe Bowles had what it takes to fully take over and take control. As you said, he was still too timid, because there's got to be a point as the head coach, if you have to oversee everything and you have to be willing to lay the hammer down.
Mm-hmm.
If you see that Byron is completely ruining it, you take over, you relieve him, or you step in and say, what the hell is going on? We never got that from Bowles. Bowles was just, okay. And again, it's okay to believe in your defense, but he didn't look at the logic behind it. Your defense is tired, Bowles. They've been out there too long because the offense was off the field too soon. Yeah. Eventually,
free and outs, my friend.
Yeah,
you may as well. What's the difference between a free and out and punting, or driving the ball and then throwing a long interception? Exactly. There's no difference. There's no fucking difference.
There's no difference. And now also you psychologically are defeating the morale of your team, because your defense is eventually going to say, shit, we can't continue to keep trying to bail you out. And again, they're looking at the players like, it's not like they see this. It's the same guys that were with us the year before and the year after, in 2021 and 2020. Mm-hmm. What the hell is going on? And they're frustrated with Byron. So that's where I say Bowles failed as the beat. You have to, as a coach, You have to know how to balance being a professional, but also knowing when to take over the reins. Byron should have been relieved after the Pittsburgh game. Both should have been able to be like, "Hey, I understand Arians is the reason why we're both here, but this is my team now, and I have a job to do. And if you don't get this together, then I'm going to either have to demote you or remove you or have someone assist you and help you." It's a lot of things that should have happened. Now we'll never know what happens behind closed doors. For all we know, maybe Bowles might have went to Arians and said, "Arians, what the hell? I need, what's up with this guy?" And Arians could have said, "Man, just let it go." Because I wanted to talk about this and I wanted to ask how you felt about it. I could not believe that Arians went there and had the nerve to just say, "Oh, Brady was going through things," and I commend him. I was like, Arians, that's a damn cop out. Are you serious?
I
You
think that I agree with you. I think that's a really clever way of trying to say it wasn't Byron's fault.
Right. I was pissed. I'm like, Arians, you have to. This is why I cannot stand when no accountability is held. Okay, yes, Brady, he wasn't the same, but you can't tell me, Arians, that your guy was doing a hell of a job. The numbers and the plays don't add up.
And the talent was there.
The talent was there, and it was like Arians. It's not just Brady. It was your guy. Why is your
I
guy?
think if it was Brady, I don't think Brady would have. If it was Brady in the sense of what was going on in his life,
Yes.
I don't think he would have retired. Because
Exactly.
he'd be like, "Give me another crack at it. I just need to get my fucking self centered. I need to," because all this happened during none of this happened in the off season. It happened during the season.
Yep.
So if he I mean, I'm not Tom Brady, so I don't know his thought process and what he's thinking or what have you.
Yes.
There's stories going out there that he's trying to rekindle things with his ex-wife. Whatever. Wish him all the best for whatever he wants to do. And it looks like he's taking a year out of everything just to try and get his shit together, and that makes complete sense to me. There's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with that. He's got a deal waiting for him whenever he wants to sign, whenever he wants it. So there's no timetable for him. But I do wonder, if it weren't, if I obviously don't know how many of these things are true, but if it was a case of, yeah, I just got a lot of shit going on, like he said, he did say that I'm 45 years of age, and I've got a lot of shit going on. This is the year that he could have gone into his darkness retreat and figured shit out, but obviously he didn't do that, and he obviously knew what he wanted. So I would say it was Father Time was generally catching up, and he felt it in that season. I don't think I think the mental stuff played a part. I just don't think it played that big of a part.
Yeah.
I think there was also a decline.
Yes, and that's okay because we can also see it in his movement. We can also see he wasn't trying to take as many risks. We saw all of that. Now, as we always said, it was also Byron's job to help
Catch a quarterback.
adjust, and he did not. And Arians, you can't continue because we just discussed it. Nobody is looking at Byron. I guarantee you, Slick, you guys, you got to go back and watch a lot of the things that Slick said because it came into fruition. We didn't want this. It's
My
just
crystal
what it is.
ball.
He Slick brilliantly said, "Hey, if you're an owner and after the season, they're gonna ask questions. You had Brady, you had Evans, you had Godwin, you had you had this basically the same thing. Your defense is doing well. What's going on here? I understand that your lineman went out, but why didn't you adjust? Why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? Why didn't you take advantage of this? Why did you stay stuck in your ways?" They're going to ask these questions. And if he cannot answer it, they're going to say, "Thank you." That should show you Byron was not ready. He was in over his head. And
You can't have a down year with a superstar quarterback. You just can't.
you can't.
It's career suicide. It's not just it's not like
Yes.
it's not like Matt LaFleur, who's got a great quarterback, but his skill positions were very limited. They've got a good running back,
Yes.
a good tight end,
Right.
and they got Aaron Rodgers. That was kind of it, and they had a load of number 3, maybe a number 2 wide receiver, completely filling their wide receiver banks. And you can blame that on whatever you want to, but the fact of the matter was he didn't have the talent level that Brady had around him.
Yep. Agreed. I agree. And also, you have an experienced coach to help you. You still have your guy that got you there with Arians. It's no excuse. As you said, no excuse. And the simple fact, and then we can always say that people can also look at how you handle things in the media. Because remember, there's a lot of teams that want to have that guy that the fans can relate to, or that is going to
Mhm.
make your organization look good. When Byron was laughing and making those asinine statements, if I'm another organization, that's not a good look for us. Like, man, I don't want him doing that, because then that can make us look bad. That can make people assume that we don't care about our players or the organization or the fans. At the end of the day, this is a business, and you have to make sure your product is producing. And for Byron, you had the product, you just wasn't producing it. So you have to go. Nobody wanted, well, I wanted him gone. I just thought he wasn't good ever. But it's not that I wished firing on him. We gave him chances. He had an entire season and nothing changed. It's been different. Let's say if
There's
Byron,
one or two games where we,
yeah,
and that can be due to a multitude of different things. Of why sometimes
yeah,
things just click in a game and what have you. That's
yeah,
why you occasionally see a team that has no business beating a team.
yes,
Like the Colts generally have no, the Jags have no business beating the Colts, but they've beaten them every year at home.
yeah,
Every year since 2000, God knows when, without fail, the Colts will lose to the Jags. Doesn't matter if they got Andrew Luck. It doesn't matter.
yep, I
There are
agree.
mental errors, and occasionally there are teams who just pop up. Like Brady always seemed to struggle with Miami late in the season when he was with the Patriots because of the warm. Arguably, it must have been the warm weather. It didn't seem to affect him when he came to Tampa, but that was one of the things that people were like, well, he doesn't play well in warm weather.
Yeah. Yeah, and and I agree. It's just sometimes some teams have your number. Byron's best games that he called was the first Dallas game that actually worked. But now you have to question, was that him, or was that just the players executing?
I'll tell you what that was. That was a good run game.
Yeah,
You take away we had a good run game.
yes, we
And
did.
then I would say the other one that sticks in my memory is probably the Seahawks game. Again, another good run game.
Yes,
Every time I mean, I imagine you can do the stats on it. And so if the Buccaneers get over such and such amount of yards rushing, they win the game. I'm sure there's a stat line out there
yes,
because you're keeping the defense honest. And what me and you always said is like it almost felt like teams sold out versus our run because they knew when it was coming.
yes, yes, they did. And also a lot of sometimes, and that was another thing. He didn't pick the right running backs to do certain things. You call plays where Fournette is going to the outside when he should be running in. Then you have Rashad going in when he should be going out. It was a
No
lot of,
point guards,
yes. You weren't pulling guards. You weren't doing anything. Uh,
no tight end motion to play
no,
with it, no
nothing creative.
fullbacking on occasion. All that stuff is the like it makes a defense think because
Yes,
there's an extra blocker to think about. When you just line up four or six, like you're in 11 personnel, so one tight end, one running back. So there's five on the line, and there's no extra blocker.
yeah,
You know, if it's between the tackles, the tight end's not going to have a massive job in this because he's not going to pull away or do anything. So
yes,
you're showing one thing, and the thing that we found with this Bucs team was they had obvious running formations, and they would not run passes out of them. And someone tried to tell me, "Oh, well, all teams do that." I'm like, no. There are two ways of doing. There are two ways of doing things.
yeah,
You either make everything looks the same, but it's different, or you have a multitude of loads of different looks that no one can like. You do a bit of everything out of. So, for the sake of argument, you'll have your base personnel,
yep,
which might be two tight ends and one back. And then from there, you can add this and add that and add this. And then your next formation, you should for every formation, you should have a run play, an outside run play, an inside run play, and then a couple of different passing, at least three different passing concepts.
mm-hmm.
So you can throw different looks out there, but you've always got runs in those, so no one can work out what. Oh, they're in this formation. It's a run,
Mm-hmm.
and that's why you could sit there and go run,
Yeah, and then
run.
you can tell the gap. That's what makes it worse. They knew the gap. There's a difference where if, like you said, it could look obvious, but we don't know which side they're going or which gap they're going to hit. No, the Bucs, they everybody knew. Oh, he's going to go in this gap. Oh, this guy really is not even good at that. So I want you to do this.
I wouldn't even just say it's the gap per se. It was also, and this is an easier denominator, it was the side. So it was left or right. That was what made it easier to work out. It was predominant sides. So you could stack your defense to one side. Like, so if I was a defensive coordinator, I'd tell my free safety on a team that likes to run on first down, I'm going one high and my free safety's playing at 8. He's not playing at 10. And I'm shuffling him over, instead of being over the center, I'm going to put him over the tackle on that one side so he can play the run quicker and faster. So he's got less yardage to cover. That's just right. Because I know what they're doing.
Yep. And
it's a simple adjustment.
Yep, very simple. And this is why, for anybody new Buck fans out there, this is why Slick and I were very hard on Leftwich, because you got two guys that are not even in the locker room or in this organization, but we already knew what you were doing. Can you imagine the other teams that we were playing, the opposing teams? These are professionals that know this. So they're going to take far more advantage than what we can ever do. And that's frustrating because this person in this position should know this. Byron has played this game before. Byron has been with the Cardinals before. So he has been under Arian's wing for many years. And you mean to tell me he didn't learn anything? Sometimes
he's been around some good quarterbacks.
Yes. And sometimes some people just don't have it. So just because you play in the league or you've been around it, some people don't have an eye for talent, or some people don't know how to execute. And that's all right. But we have to acknowledge that. We can't keep making excuses. Remember, Sean McVays of the world, when they got an opportunity, they weren't too experienced, but they brought something new, and they brought belief and accountability, and they made it work, and they executed. You just have to look at it like that, because we were, a lot of people were angry especially with me, because they thought I just didn't like him. It's like, no, I don't like his productivity. I didn't know Byron as a person. Still don't.
I actually liked him as a person. I really wanted him to succeed. He seemed like a really cool dude. I watched a podcast with him and Fred Taylor and his crew. I can't remember what they call it, Pivot. And he just seemed so down to earth, so much fun. He seemed like a fun coach. Got a bit of swag about him as well. So he's, a bit of a dude. I was like, okay, we'll see what happens. And we saw what happened.
And then he blew it. So now we have a new chapter in the Bucs organization, and now it's time to really get behind the team. When it comes to free agency, we just need to re-sign the guys on defense that are cheap and make sure that they're going to be fine, because we really want this defense to stay solid. I don't see anything. Buck fans, do not expect us to get big name players. We can't afford it. We're still stuck, and we're going to eat all of Brady's cap this season. We'll find a way to maneuver it and get to where we need to, but Buck fans, do not expect big name guys. That's not happening.
Our big name guy will be either Levante David
or Dean
or Jamal Dean.
Exactly.
Those will be our biggest signings.
If you could find a way now, in your opinion, well, this is probably more obvious, but I think Dean
would be our free agent segment.
Yeah. I think Dean will be a lot more. It's going to be a lot more difficult to keep him than Levante. Levante is going to be cheaper than
he
Dean.
said he wants to stay. He's full on said that he wants to stay. He's at the point in his career where he has earned pretty decent money. He's had 2 good contracts in his career, I believe.
Yes, he has.
It's whether I think he'll sign late, and I think he'll sign for I think he'll either retire or sign for the Bucs. For this reason and this reason only. I think he wants to see what the Buccaneers do in free agency.
Yes.
So if before free agency hits that they get Jamal Dean or SMB back, one of those two, I would not be surprised if he were to sign a 2-year deal where his cap hit for this year is like his vet minimum, and then next year it's whatever the going rate they'll have to pay it. You know what I mean? They'll have to eat that, just like they did with Deshaun Watson's contract, where he was being paid literally full money on paper because it was all guarantees and stuff, so they couldn't take it off him.
Yeah.
That's how I would deal with Levante. Give him a 2-year contract but stop this voidable year stuff, because there's no point in us living on contracts. I don't mind the whole restructure stuff. That's always smart. I like that stuff. But this whole having contracts that player's gone and you're still paying for them for 2 years, it just seems insane.
Yeah, we can't do that anymore because we're not a win now team anymore. We are a team where we need to just assess what we can. So I do agree. I think he will, because he does want to retire a Buck, and that's wonderful. And I honestly think he still wants to. A part of me feels like he wants to mentor Devin to take him to that next level, because now I think this will be mentoring season for him.
But this is a big season for Devin White, isn't it? This is the season.
This is a very big season for Devin, because now if I'm Devin, it's like, look, man, you talk about that you're that guy. We know we've seen the 2020 Devin. We just want to see him consistently keep it. He had a solid season, but remember, there were times where he was getting accused of loafing, where he was getting blown up.
There was a patch of 3 games where he was quite poor.
Yeah, and then
it was weird to see, because it was totally like his worst game before that was nowhere near that level.
Yeah. The game where we all said, okay, Devin, what's going on, was that Baltimore game. I remember, because that was a Devin that we were like, this isn't the Devin we know. This isn't like
there were linemen outrunning him.
Right.
Who are facing this way.
Yep.
Engaged with a blocker, disengages with the blocker, and then chases the play down. And Devin White is at depth, so he's further back than them. Reads, sluggishly moves, and then just kind of trots along and watches everyone work. And that bull watching is probably the biggest thing that sets any player off. There are 2 things as a defensive coach I personally dislike. People just sitting in the zone when a quarterback's not even looking in their direction. As in, quarterback, you got a guy over here. Let's see my hand. Yeah. Guy over here. The quarterback's gone. He's not looking at you. He's never going to look at you because his reads are over here. Shuffle your coverage. I had an argument with a player probably a few weeks ago, and he said, "I'm looking after the flats." I went, "Well, who's in the flats?" He went, "Nobody." And I went, "So what the fuck are you doing in the flats?" But I've got the flats. I'm like, "You have. You work towards your landmark while reading the quarterback. When you see the quarterback is looking away from you and there's no backfield action, shuffle your coverage inside. Even if you don't get to make it, but I won't make the play." I went, "No, but if a catch is caught and someone decides to bust back inside or is running down the field, you are now in a better pursuit angle because you're already working over to the other side of the field, rather than going, oh shit, they caught a ball, I better start sprinting over there." You're never going to make it. But if you start shuffling your coverage, the moment you see the quarterback's not looking at you and you've got no one in the zone that could be dangerous, shuffle that coverage. And I even say sometimes if they're not looking at you, don't even bother worrying about if there's a person in your zone. They're not going to look at them, because a quarterback's got 5 seconds. And we play amateur football over here, or semi-pro, whatever you want to call it. They're not going to be like a Tom Brady who can go and go over there. It's not going to happen. They're going to go shit, I better get rid of the ball before I get
right. And that's
their Intel Pentium processor is nowhere near as fast.
No, and also you don't necessarily always have the talent to do that either. I think people don't realize, like,
some people are praying a certain player, who's especially a skill player, a wide receiver or what have you, is going to get open, and they keep hoping they're going to get open, and they're hoping they're going to get open, and they're hoping and then they're sacked.
Right.
Because they're looking at this guy, because this is the guy who's going to make the play, because he's got the best hands on the team. He runs the best routes on the team. You've got the best click with that player. Like, let's say you have your version of Gronk on your team. But obviously you're not Gronk and Brady, but you're going to have that. Yeah, he's going to get open for me. But you're still waiting for it. And you're not looking at anyone else, because that's the one you're expecting.
Right. That's your connection. And sometimes that could be a bad thing too, because then other teams will pick up on that. Oh, all we got to do is act like that we're not.
This guy looks his dude down. That will be in your tape.
He's going to do
He looks his guy down.
Yep. We're going to pick him off, because sometimes there are teams in the quarterbacks in the pros that do that. And that's why they get picked off. They get picked, or they get sacked.
because they get giddy. They go, oh, I like what I got here. I'm gonna get a fucking touchdown right here, and they get it all up. And you can't help yourself. Yeah, anytime I line up, all I do is look at the ball from the center. That's all I. If I'm repping for offense, when we do our installs, sometimes we don't have enough. I'll go in and mimic a running back or a wide receiver or what have you, and I only look at the ball. It's all I look at. As soon as I see that ball move, then I move, and that's it. I do not look at anything else. Don't look at them. Don't look at anything.
I agree.
Just that ball. That's all I look at.
And that's how you got to play it. So I do think, but yeah, like we were saying though, back to the original thing about the free agency, you are right. Slick, Bucs fans, Dean and Levante are our big splash. Everyone else, we can get back for cheap. Golston won't cost too much. Keanu Neal won't cost too much. At this point, we just want to have some depth. We just need to build our finances for the draft. Free agency, this is not the season. This season is for the Bucs to be competitive and see what we have for the next season when our salary cap, the season after, where our salary cap is not in a massive hit. So be patient. Don't expect anything because we're not in a win now anymore. We got that. We got the chip from Brady the first year. Thank you. And then more than that, we were back-to-back NFC South champions. So we were in good. Brady left this team in good shape. Don't get it twisted. We're not far off from being contenders again. I'd say if we get shit right and we get the quarterback right, and we in the defense and the offense can be, I'd say in another 2-3 years we can be back to being a contender again. Maybe another season. We'll see.
It all depends on what we do next.
Yes. Especially
and this is the big thing. Well, we're talking about free agency. Is Trask'd the guy? There was a comment made by Dave Canales where he said he's ours until he's not. I like that comment because it's realistic. There's no point in speculating what you could or could not have because we don't know nothing at this point. The only quarterback that's technically available, other than free agent quarterbacks that don't have teams, is Derek Carr. And other people who may want to be traded.
Yeah, and I like
the only ones that are actually available.
Agreed. Right. And I like this guy. I like Fred, what he said. I agree with you, Fred. Hell no.
Hell no.
But you don't have to worry about that. He's not going. I do like what you said, though, Slick, because I do want, if Trask'd is the guy for now, make him work for it. If we can get a free agent in here, then do so. And if we don't, this is one of those.
We're going to have to because you can't have one. We're going to. Right. This is back to the matter to all Bucs fans. We are signing 2 veterans.
Yeah.
Signing 2 veterans. We'll draft one and we'll probably get an undrafted free agent as well. Right.
Exactly.
Because in camp, you're usually carrying 4 to 5 quarterbacks anyway.
Yes.
And then after that, you're going to have your starter, your backup, and then you'll probably have a third backup who will be a healthy scratch every game.
Yep.
And then you'll have one on the practice squad. So the Buccaneers will carry 5 through preseason. The Buccaneers will carry 4 to 5 quarterbacks.
Yep.
That is straight up fact.
Yeah, and that's what we just hope for. I wouldn't be surprised this season if we see 2 to 3 different quarterbacks playing.
I would like a little bit more consistency.
Me too. I wouldn't be surprised.
You wouldn't be surprised for sure.
I want to see what Trask'd can do. I'm not here for folks out there. I'm not saying it. I know I'm a Gators fan, so before you come at me, it's not just because he's a Gator. I just want to see what we have. If he is garbage, then there it is. If he's garbage, let's get him out of there and get someone else. However, we still have to be patient and give the man a chance. But we've learned this already with the Steve Youngs of the world, with the Doug Williams. You don't let gems go just because they don't shimmer in the beginning. That's why you gotta take your time and develop. For all we know, we're sitting on gold here. We can sit. We're sitting on something. Look at the tangibles. You don't know what. This is why we got Canals. What if he knows how to work with those tangibles? What if he goes, okay, we're gonna work at what you can do here. So be patient, but I do agree, Slick. We are going to get someone in here as veterans. We
My
want
question
that.
is, if you had to pick two quarterbacks, two veterans, who would you go for? And let's go with guys that haven't started. Let's go with guys who haven't started a full season yet.
Shit.
So
I would have said. I would have said.
Baker made no. So let me rephrase this last season. So
Okay.
Baker's up. People like Baker on the table because they didn't start a full season.
Okay. So it can't be Baker.
It can be. No, it can be.
Yeah, I would want Baker.
He hasn't started a full season
Yeah,
last year.
yeah. I want Baker Mayfield. I want him in there just because. I think on a personal level, with the personality, it's gonna light a fire under Trask or not. Because
It'll be fun to watch as well.
What's up?
He'll be fun to watch.
Right, he would be.
Baker's a bit of a. He has something about him that I won't say makes him likable. Sometimes it can make him unlikable.
Yes.
He's got moxie and he's got attitude, and sometimes that bit of dudeness, kind of like a chip on your over crater on the shoulder rather than chip on the shoulder.
Yes.
That might rub off on some players. It might build something. It might generate some momentum. I do think he's a bit of an excuses guy. That's my only pet peeve about him, but that's usually happens when guys have got egos and they suck. They tend to blame somebody else.
I agree, and I think, but that's why I said his personality. People like that will piss off somebody else. It can either go the good way or the bad way. With the Trask, what if that motivates Trask to go, oh hell no! I know this guy's he had his moments, but I want my moments. I'm gonna get out here and I'm gonna outplay him. I'm gonna outwork him. I'm gonna do what I can because again, the Trask is his future is on the line. If Trask turns out to just be if he turns into a pumpkin, it's over for him because he might not get another shot. So for and besides, you sat behind Brady for 2 seasons.
What did you learn? Show me what you learned.
What did you learn? You better take, if I'm Trask, this is why I said for Trask, you better be living next to one Buc place. You shouldn't be worried about going anywhere. You should.
I don't think he is. I think he's a dialed in dude.
I hope so. He's gonna have to be. He's gonna have to do it because one, you got to earn the respect of the team now. Now, apparently, the team is saying that they like him and that he has tangibles, but I want to make sure that's not fluff for
the media. It's not just coaching speak because no one's going to turn around and go, "Oh, the only quarterback that we have on our roster, we don't like him." Exactly. You know what I mean? Yeah. But actions speak louder than words. So we'll see what the Buccaneers actually do. If they go really if they go for somebody who is like, I would say, an intermediate quarterback. So Derek Carr's talented, but he's not. And he I suppose you could argue he's a franchise quarterback, but he's been on and off. He's had good years, he's had bad years. He's had good years, he's had bad years. And yeah, he was in a dumpster trash of an organization for sure. 100% agree. But he's not lighted up quarterback. Like
he's not what
you're not putting him in and you're guaranteed you're going to win your division. It's not like having a Brady. It's not like having a Peyton Manning. It's not like
right. Exactly. It's one of those.
Even Geno Smith gives me the willies. I'm not 100% sold on him either.
I wouldn't blame you. Now that would be if he.
I like it, but I'm like, I hope if let's say a deal does get done, and this story coming out that he really believes in Canales, and Canales did say in his press conference that they spent a lot of years. When you're the quarterbacks coach, you spend a lot more time with the backups, working with them and what have you. So he felt maybe that this is the guy who pushed him in the right direction, got him to where he's got to. So he feels it almost a little bit indebted to Canales, and is also thinking, I've had my best shit with this guy.
Yeah.
I want to continue to have that with him because I've got years of trust with this person who knows how I play, who knows how I think. Maybe he does. And let's say he does. If it's a team-friendly deal, it's a team-friendly deal. My only biggest problem is I've seen quarterbacks have a blow-up 1 year.
And then
teams who have quarterback needy go, here's all the money. And then they go, shit, he's crap. Brock Osweiler is a perfect example of that. He played really good football until all the way for that 2015 season when Peyton went down, who wasn't himself. And yeah, Peyton got the call to come back because he's fucking Peyton Manning.
Yes.
But Osweiler was playing lights out football. And again, we saw this again with another player in Nick Foles. He takes over from Carson Wentz, who was at the point having an MVP level season. takes over, takes him to the Super Bowl, wins the Super Bowl in emphatic fashion, and then just turns into nobody again. So
Right.
I'm always worried when a player only has one good year on their resume. If they've had a few spotty good years, so let's say they played for 5 years and you got good year, bad year, bad year, good year, bad year, good year. There's going to be something that links the good years together. So you can go, okay, what was the common denominator in those good years? And they'd be like, oh, yeah, they had a really good OC that year. That
Yes, you
OC
did.
left, bad
Right.
year.
Right.
Those kinds of things you can look at. So as much as I think, oh, yeah, we could get someone like Geno Smith's not off the table because he is a free agent. He has not been signed by any, he hasn't been re signed. He can be re signed
Yes.
at any time, realistically. He can be re signed right now,
Yeah.
but he hasn't. Um, and that makes me believe that he probably might test free agency, but that's not necessarily going to happen. But I've seen teams go too crazy on the quarterback because they need one, and they go, "Oh, this guy's shown promise. Let's get him now. Let's put all the money in."
Yeah.
And then
You have a point. You are very correct. We have to just look at, like you said, you have to look at the body of work. You have to look at everything. I don't see Gino coming here. If he were cool, but I don't see it either. Um, I do. I just want a quarterback that is gonna not be afraid to let it fly, with especially with the receiving weapons we have. I want to see the
you don't want a
Bucs.
careful guy. You want a guy a little bit.
Yes, we can't afford that. We cannot afford that. That's not who we are. Um,
So
you
James
look.
Winston's coming back then.
What's up?
James Winston's coming back.
Nah, Jameis. I think Winston's just gonna have to face the fact that wherever he goes, he's gonna be the backup. He's basically Blaine Gabbert now at this point of his life.
I liken him to Ryan Fitzpatrick. He'll have a couple of good games and then just fizzles out again.
There it is. Yep, exactly.
That's how I see him. But no, absolutely. For me, I would go Baker, and I would also go Gardner Minshew. Those would be my top two guys. Those would be my guys, and they're kind of contrasting to each other. One's super humble, but has a bit of a dude mentality. The other one's a little bit less. The other guy's a bit less humble, a bit more egotistical, but is a bit of a dude as well. So the combination of those two, then you got Kyle Trask, and then you go draft somebody. Where they draft, I don't know. I would probably, if I'm going to go for a quarterback, I'm looking at an Ivy League school. Smart kid, just see what they can do. Especially for that fourth spot where you're not, it's a development year. It's just you're going to be sat in the practice squad.
Yeah.
Let's get a smart quarterback that has a little bit of speed about them, who isn't scared to leave the pocket, but comes from a smart place.
Yeah.
You know? Get a Princeton, Harvard kind of guy, whatever, and see what you can shake out of them. Yeah. You're gonna spend a 7th round pick on him. You might even get him as an undrafted free agent. See what you can shake out of him. I don't know.
I agree. Yeah, all that is nice. Now, I know I just have to throw that out there. Now, if we get the lotto opportunity, if Justin Fields is on the table and all it takes is just one first rounder, look, that's an offer you can't refuse. Set it off. Keep that shit going.
So you take him and you go, okay, it means we're gonna have to live with Donovan Smith.
I don't mind that. Because with the mobile,
and also it's not necessarily true because you could still draft someone in the 2nd round.
Right.
A lot of these guys.
Yeah.
A lot of these guys are like, I was looking at Orlando Brown and a few of these other like David Bakhtiari. Not all of them are like high end 1st round picks.
No, not at all.
I remember someone saying to me, "Is like, oh yeah, but we pick so late that we're not going to get one of the good." You don't know what good looks like. Should we? I'm gonna go. I'll fucking do this right now. Let's have a look at the draft class with Tristan Wirfs in, because Tristan Wirfs was like the 4th OT taken.
Yeah, I don't think. Yeah, and another thing too, you can, with a guy like Justin Fields, you just need a serviceable left tackle that doesn't draw penalties, and he'll do the rest. With Justin, the offense, you can open it so much more, and Justin will have someone to throw to. And then remember, the Bucs line is the biggest hole is just left tackle. Everything else is fine. You can have. So I get what you're saying on that. No, but but I know what you mean about Wirfs. People didn't even really think that Wirfs was like considered the third or fourth best guy in the line, which I didn't understand. I'm sitting here like that guy's a stud. But yes, you don't know what, and then sometimes certain organizations make crazy picks. I remember when the Falcons got Julio and they didn't need Julio because they still had Roddy White. And people were saying, what the hell? Why would you pick him? Sometimes certain teams will just pick something out of the ordinary where you're like, okay, they didn't address their needs. You don't know what will happen in the draft. You never know.
I think sometimes is that there's that whole like going for the need, or there's drafting the best available because you want the best available player, I guess.
Yes.
I can see both sides.
Yeah.
Because sometimes the best player for the position that you need is not where you'd want to draft. And that's why I believe in trading down. Because if you think, okay, I can get that guy in with the 20th pick and I've got the 15th, let me trade to 19th and see what I can get. Because if you get an extra 4th rounder, then that's nice. That might be able to fluff you another 3rd rounder in the future, because you can turn around and go, oh, I'll put my a 2nd rounder, because I can put my 3rd rounder and my 4th rounder, pair them together and get a 2nd rounder. 2nd rounders are meant to be starters, especially in the high end part of that 2nd round. Exactly. So you can go and find yourself a 2nd round wide receiver. There's expectations straight off the bat that you're going to be the 3rd guy at least in a team.
Right. So, and again, sometimes the hidden gems that you know about that you want, you like you said, you can get extra guys that go, okay, and these guys complement each other. Yes. Mm-hmm. Sometimes people they think the best are always going to be picked the earliest. That's not always true. It's always about picking who's going to be right.
Did anyone think Tyreek Hill was going to be who Tyreek Hill was?
Nope.
5th round.
5th round, right? Exactly.
Like, we can mock Dak Prescott as much as we want, and Russell Wilson. They're both 4th round picks. They both were franchise quarterbacks in their first year.
Yep.
And I would still consider both of them a franchise. Like, they're a starting quarterback in about 50% of the league.
Yes.
So they're a starting quarterback, guaranteed. Doesn't matter where they go. Whether they're worth the money they've been paid, that's debatable. But sometimes your hands are tied, because finding these quarterbacks is not fucking easy. There's a reason sometimes people just go, yeah, take my fucking money. Because they don't have a choice. And if they think what they've got is, even if what they've got is a slightly above average, which is where I probably put someone like Dak Prescott, slightly above average. He'll have games where he'll look elite, and there'll be games where he looks poor, but for the most part, he'll be average or above average. But if you give him the line that he's got, and you give him a good run game, you give him some weapons, he goes from being a B minus quarterback to maybe playing as a B plus quarterback, which is enough. If you're lucky and you get it right and you time it right, the play calling's right and everything's right, you might have a Super Bowl run. I'm not saying he's going to win a Super Bowl, but you could down the line. It's not off his cards completely. He's got legs when he wants to use them. So a lot of people seem to think, oh, let's go back in the draft. I'll go and get it. Yeah, because going back in the draft is easy, and people just get franchise quarterbacks dime a dozen. It's not that simple. Like,
that's not how it works.
This entire draft class at quarterbacks could be crap in 5 years' time. We'd be talking about them too.
Yeah, the hype ones are usually.
Jared Goff and Carson Wentz were like the shining pillars of their draft at quarterback, right?
Right.
And then one of them's been to a Super Bowl. One of them had an MVP level, but they've both kind of fallen off the wagon. I think there's more upside to Jared Goff, and he got signposted and went, "See you later, mate. We're done with you." Right. Probably spent so much fucking money on him as well. Again, that's the guy who he wasn't playing amazing, but he was playing good enough. So they paid him the money, and then they went, "Oh, we could get somebody else for less money if we trade him." And that's what they did. They traded a franchise quarterback for another franchise quarterback and played around with it a little bit, and it got them a Super Bowl. Well, good for them. But
exactly, it's the same situation in New York with the Giants. Daniel Jones wants a lot more money, and the Giants might be obligated to pay for him because that's all they know, unless they do find someone where they really say, "Wow, this guy can
What
immediately
else have you
win."
got? That's the thing. Is everyone says, oh, like even with Donovan Smith, and I've said this to people before. Yeah, okay, Donovan Smith's not great. I completely agree.
Yes.
But unless you have a viable replacement, I mean, when people turn around, oh, anyone, my grandmother could play better than him. Grandmother can't play better
Right.
than him. Grandmother, you can't play better than him. He's still an NFL low-end starting left tackle. Doesn't matter how you fucking put it. Finding a left tackle to replace him isn't going to be as simple as you want it to be. I'd love it to be that simple because we get to see the back of it. But it's not that simple.
It's not that
Left
simple.
tackles are one of the most valuable positions in offensive football. They are paid the most for a reason. And then you get the people turning around and go, oh, well, just put Wirfs there. Yeah, because that works every time. Tell me of all the times that right tackles have gone to left tackle and dominated.
Right, and it doesn't work like that. Again, that's for the people who just don't know the ins and outs of football 1-on-1. You can't. That's like telling a right hand quarterback to just switch to a lefty. Oh, you'll be fine. Go to the left side, and it's like it doesn't work that way.
Every quarterback has a side of the field that they favor because it's just easy to get the ball out, right?
Right.
I found since with my DB, I throw balls for my guys in drills. I prefer to throw to my right hand side. The ball comes out smoother. It's usually faster, and I can get a little bit more. I can get more distance out of it. I throw the other side. It looks ugly. It's wobbly, and it doesn't go as far.
Right, and that's
Which
why.
means that's all it that your psychological brain's telling you that I need to focus on this side of the ball.
Facts, and that's why we have to. Again, like you said with the Donovan Smith situation, he's still a serviceable person until you can find someone to replace him. That's
Just
what the draft is. Yeah, the draft is
all
all
it is just pay too much money. If someone turned around and said you can have Donovan Smith for $5 million, I'd say thank you.
Right.
$5 million, I'd be happy with that. I'd take that deal tomorrow because you won't find many until you can find at least you're in a better position to find a replacement.
Right. At least you are in a better position. That's what drafting's all about, especially for the older players. Can we get somebody in here that is going to make an immediate impact? You don't just go and say, "Oh, we're going to throw somebody away," and you don't have anyone to help pick up the slack, because then you're cheating yourself. You're hurting your team when you do that. So that's what the Bucs are going to do in this draft. You know, let's be realistically, Justin Fields, I don't see him getting here. So we're gonna stick it out with Trask'd and 2 free agent quarterbacks, first round. We're gonna get a left tackle. You never know if Light can trade down, we might be able to get 2 tackles to come in and draft 2 tackles to help us out. We can get depth. It just depends. I really, with this year's draft, I just want the Bucs to get depth players. The first 2, like I said, the first 2 to 3 players, they have to be starters. The first 2 players we pick, they have to be immediate impact players.
Mm-hmm.
We need Bowles and Light, they need to hit this draft. The first 3 rounds, the first 3 picks, they better be they cannot be anything less than solid. Not, oh, they were okay. No, they have to be solid. First 3 rounds, they got to be, you got to have a 2020 draft. Again, you got to have that kind of draft. And then even with your 4th and 5th, they got to be someone set up for the future. Oh, okay, they'll be started within 2 to 3 years. That's the immense pressure for this Bucs organization this season.
Okay, so drafting a quarterback.
Yes.
I don't want to use my first pick to draft a quarterback.
No.
Because I don't want to trade up because I don't want to lose the draft capital I got to give up to get there.
Exactly.
Unless I'm I mean, I don't look at quarterbacks that often from college because I don't watch a lot of college football. Unless someone in the Bucs facility has fallen full on in love with a certain player. That's been a recipe for disaster because we have seen time and time again. Aaron Rodgers wasn't the first quarterback taken in his draft. Peyton Manning wasn't the first quarterback taken in his draft. Tom Brady is definitely not the fucking first quarterback taken.
Mr. Irrelevant
is probably the best quarterback in his draft class. Russell Wilson's probably the best quarterback in his draft class.
Damn. Wasn't he there with Andrew Luck?
He might have been there with Andrew Luck. I'm not.
Andrew Luck, Robert
but Andrew Luck's no longer playing, so availability.
That's true. Damn, that's crazy how they just you're right. So that's why I wouldn't pick for this season. I'm not drafting a quarterback until the
never ever worry. I would say to teams, never ever worry about where you're drafting someone. Always worry that you like them enough to come and join your team. Coaching will bring enough if they're good enough. If they've got the intangibles, your coaching should be able to bring it out of them.
Exactly. And you have to get someone that is going to be willing to be that fits your team. Again, someone could get someone in the first round on the third pick and they are a disaster because they don't go with their team. But you can get someone that's the 28th pick that is a home run hitter for your squad because why? They go together with your team. They want to be there. They mesh with your philosophy and style. It's about picking the right players. So essentially, you're guessing. The draft should be the NFL guessing draft. You're guessing and hoping that these guys can work. Does it always work? Absolutely not. A lot of times, if you have 7 picks, 3 of them maybe pan out. And then everybody,
the ratio on this is absolutely insane.
Yes,
not in your favor. But a quarterback I like the look of, Hendon Hooker from Tennessee. I really, really like him. I think that his biggest weaknesses is he had an ACL, which I think for a quarterback is not a bad injury because I think it's one you can bounce back on. 70% of his passes, 27 touchdowns, and 2 INTs in the SEC. That's impressive.
Pretty good, yeah. Shit.
And he is not a first-round pick because of his injury. That, to me, I see almost that's the kind of guy I'm looking for because, yes, I know Tennessee got very good very quick, but it was still quite early. It was still fresh. It was still new. It was still, that to have the success that they had and the success that he had, the percentage, the touchdowns and the interception ratio, that to me is just a slam dunk pick. Whether he will be ready before the regular season, I don't know. But that's why I would probably spend a 3rd round pick on him.
If he is available, because other teams might look at that. But yes, I just want a quarterback that knows how to adjust at the line of scrimmage. Give me a guy that goes, okay, this guy's 7 yards off Mike Evans. I'm throwing it to him no matter what the play was because I see it. And I want an adjuster. An adjuster and someone who's willing to run. You don't have to be super athletic, but if it's 3rd and 3 and the middle of the field's open or there's a lane, take it, extend the plays.
And just slide that shit down. No one cares if you slide and you've made past the marker. No one cares. Nope. I'm for it. I've never understood why when people slide on their ass, I'm sliding down on my chest. Because you've taken the ball forward. I never understood why people do this thing where they slide on their ass. It just makes no sense to me. For me personally, all right? And I'm sure there's a reason for it.
I think some of these guys are scared if they slide first. They don't want to get kicked in the head, or they don't want to run into somebody like their knee and hit them in the head. I'm scared of the sliding too because you never know. You might twist something going down like that. I agree.
I've got the ball tucked in, and I'm just sliding into it, sliding face first.
I agree.
Automatically, when they do that, when your knees hit, your body's already elongated, so your knees will be here. Your body's already there. You slide, it's when your backside hits. So it's not the ball is where your backside hits. So
I agree.
You got to make sure you slide at the marker, whereas you could probably slide 2 yards, maybe even 3 yards before the marker because you're pushing your body forward. You got a step or two before you hit the deck.
Yep.
You're gaining that last chunk.
Yep, I agree.
That's just me personally. I mean, I don't know. I'm sure there's a reason for it because they all do it one way, and there's usually a reason for why people do certain things, right? I only see that when they're trying to get the yardage, where they do that whole like reach out type of thing. It's all about breaking the plane or what have you.
Yeah.
But they usually tend to do that and then fall down. I don't know. It's just one thing I always find weird.
Nah, I hear you. Again, left tackle is the priority, but the next priority is the trenches and on the defensive side. I
I,
want
I would go. I would go defensive tackle,
yes, I want another D tackle.
or what we would call a defensive end, I guess, for
Yeah,
this
we
team.
we need someone that is really going to truly complement Vita Vea. We need that because we want Vita to stay as healthy as possible. So yes, again, then the next one, edge rusher. I want to. I want the line of scrimmage because then again, we just talked about it. We want players that can rotate off the bench, and if there's an edge rusher that can help JTS, that's what we want. Because right now, JTS is still the future. He still has the potential to be great. If it takes for him to get his reps cut in half so he can keep his energy and also learn how to develop, then so be it. You never know. Imagine us having a another draft and another JTS, but this one, he knows how to get to the he can stop the run. That would Can you imagine a JT if we draft a JTS, even though he's an edge rusher, but he knows how to stop the run consistently? That would be something so good for us because then JTS, it wouldn't be so much pressure on him. And then,
For sure.
oh man, that would help. So those are my first three. I want a left tackle, defensive tackle, and edge rusher. Those three you have to hit on. The first two, like I said, have to make an immediate impact. The third guy needs to be solid. But yes, then fourth, I can go for if we can get a quarterback like that, then yes. Then after that, get a corner. Then maybe if we want to be, I don't know, the receiving core is fine. But if I just had to get somebody else, I want a super fast wide receiver. Like I want a Scotty Miller speed. I want somebody like that. Be like, you know what? Your
But I think
duty.
you can bring back Cyril Grayson for
That's true. That's
cheap.
true.
So
You could
I
do
mean,
that.
it depends on what your needs are at that point in time. If you can get like, let's face it, someone like Cyril Grayson is going to be a last minute. It's going to be an after the draft.
Right.
But talking to defensive tackles or someone who can help out in that area. What about Keanu Benton from Wisconsin?
I think that would be
Yeah.
really good. I think that would be really good. He's got a high motor. We need somebody with a high motor. I think he would fit right in. Um, I think that it could be reasonable we could get him in the second round. I won't say that it's not. I'm hoping. I feel like this season, the first round is going to be a lot of quarterbacks or offensive linemen.
I want it to be all wide receivers because we don't need any of those.
No, you don't. Now, but
Please
again,
let the positions that go early are the positions that we have I wouldn't say no interest, but like next to no interest. So if it's middle linebackers, like let the middle linebackers, let the running backs,
yeah,
let the quarterbacks. I mean, I know we need a quarterback, but we're not going to. We should not be drafting one
no,
with
no,
our first pick. In my
no.
opinion, I think your first pick has to be someone who's going to contribute straight away to the team, unless that quarterback is like money. Like for some reason, the guy that is considered to be like the best quarterback or one of the top three quarterback happens to fall to 19. Maybe you go there because you're like, okay, this is a guy that it was on paper a top 10 quarterback. He's now a top 20 quarterback. Let's take him because we're getting good draft value for it and we liked what we see.
Agreed. Agreed. If it
But
again,
it's got to be that. And I just don't see that happening.
no, I
People,
don't either.
people bite on the quarterback too early anyway.
No, I agree. You don't get anybody unless, like you said, he's gonna be super good for us. And this is a guy where you just don't pass up
Like you
on
look
him.
at him and even the because let's face it, it comes down to the Buccaneers head coach. It comes down to Jason Light making these decisions for us. If they believe it's got to be someone that they turn around and went, that guy will fucking outwork Carl Trask every day and twice on Sunday.
Yep.
We're drafting him. If it's maybe, I would skip and I'll go get me a tackle, get me an edge rusher, or get me a like defensive tackle or offensive tackle, whichever's the better position out of the two that you think will contribute straight away. That's the one I want.
Amen. That I now the more that you just think about that, that is a good example because what if there is someone in the first round that's a defensive tackle where you go, oh shit, no, you get him,
I
him and
can't say no.
yeah, him and Vita, you get them two together, then you can get an average edge rusher because those two are going to be impacting the game so much. Absolutely.
Again, it'll all come down who we sign. Like if we can get Anthony Nelson back, if we can get Carl Nassib back,
Yeah.
if we re-sign those, especially Anthony Nelson, he showed so much promise last season. I wouldn't even worry about JTS if I've got Anthony Nelson because I can rotate the two.
Yeah, I think we could get Nelson back. I don't think he'll demand too much right now because I think
he's still under the radar. He's only had a okay.
Right. He's under the radar. He's very under the radar. You could get him back for maybe another 2-3 years, decent deal where he'll take it because Anthony, he might not want to test the market too much because then he might mess around and get left out there to dry. So I think you could get Anthony Nelson. If we are to land him back, then yes, you don't have to worry about getting a supreme edge rusher. But you do want a supreme defensive tackle next to Vita. We want Vita to dominate and wreak havoc, and he needs help. Hicks is not the guy. We know that. You want someone to complement him. He could. Ooh.
Yeah, the Baylor defense stack. He was on my list. I just don't know when he's going. He's down on Walter Football as a 2 to 3rd round pick, but Walter Football tend to be a little bit harsh in my opinion. They've said guys who are 4th round picks. I've seen them picked in the 2nd. So
yeah,
but then I've also seen guys who are 2nd round picks pick them. It's when it comes to these draft analysts, nobody really knows.
No,
if he's there, I would probably take him over the guy I said. It all depends on what's available at the time. I mean, if you go first round, you could be looking at someone like Brian Breeze. It could be Mazzy Smith. It could be Kalijah Kansi. You know, it's going to be people. It's going to be maybe it could be it. I mean, at a very hard push, it could be someone like. No, I wouldn't think it's Jalen Carter. He's too high. He's way too high. But that's the next guy they've got down. You know, so no one really knows how this thing shakes up because no one thought and as much as we can turn around and say the pick was a wasted pick, at the time it was a slam dunk because getting OJ Howard, I think we drafted him 19th.
Yes, and
at the time he was a top 10 draft pick.
Right, I'm gonna down that hill. I just think with him, we just didn't use him properly. His ass would have been another Travis Kelce. On paper, you're a tight end.
Possibly. I mean, the Texans. He's gone to the Texans. The Texans didn't get anything out of him, but it's the Texans.
I was gonna say it's the Texans too. Nothing said. I just think with him that again, I'll down that hill. His ass would have been in Travis Kelce. I'm like, I know you're a tight end on paper. That's just so we don't have to pay you like a receiver. But get your ass in that spot.
I know. I'm not sure if I'd buy that because he was with Gronk, you know, and he still couldn't get it done. Like,
yeah. I mean,
he was third in the depth chart.
Yeah, I just think he was more of a receiving tight end because they used to use him a lot in blocking.
So you use him in the slot. So So you see him more as who's the guy at Atlanta?
Pat. You talking about Pat?
Pitt. Kyle Pitts.
Yeah,
more like Kyle Pitts.
You see him more Kyle Pitts, and that's the thing. You have to know how to use that guy. I never looked at OJ Howard and said he's gonna be a well-rounded tight end. I was like, why the hell are we putting him? Shit, I'd have had a play where OJ and Mike Evans are in the outside. One is the X and one is the Y. You got 2 6'5" guys, especially in the red zone. Take your poison. Pick your poison. Which you got one.
If he can block, imagine what you could do with a stack on Mike Evans.
That's all.
Screen pass it. Oh, no, not even Mike Evans. You screen pass it to Chris Godwin in a stack or in a bunch. You got him who can block. Like he can lead block if he needs to. He's got good blocking skills.
Yes.
Yeah, you could have some fun with it for sure.
Could have had fun. You just that goes back to just coaching. Sometimes when you use someone for the wrong reasons, they're gonna struggle. But that's where we've moved on from OJ. Whatever it is, what it is. But this draft, we have to hit. I keep telling people we have to hit for bold sakes. We don't want this team. This team isn't far from being. I think a lot of the Brady fans that got here, this is not New England. This team still has so much talent left. Don't give up on it. Yes,
it's missing a quarterback and a couple of pieces,
a
and
couple
it's in a division that nobody is dominant in.
Exactly.
Not like you got to think Bill Belichick's got to try and get himself out of a hole because he's now the guy in charge of a team that is devoid of talent in comparison to Miami and Buffalo, and
That's
now
right.
the Jets as
And now the
well.
Jets,
So
and
you
that's
got
on him.
it was the Buffalo Bills, and that was kind of like the stranglehold between those two. Then it kind of went. The Buffalo Bills went, no, we are king supreme. Then Miami this year had their moment where they got something really good out of Tua. Not sure what they're going to continue to do down the line, but they've always been competitive in the last 4 years anyway. They've never been a poor team.
Yep.
Even with Brian Flores. And
Yeah.
now you've got the emergence of the Jets, who are now, hopefully, in their mind's eye, going to go after a good quarterback, whichever one they can get hold of
Exactly.
to elevate their game. So all of a sudden, Coach Belichick is now coaching a team that's almost, I wouldn't say they're devoid of talent, but in comparison to everyone else around them, winning that division is nigh on impossible. You're going to hope to get the second. You're hoping to get one of those like fifth, sixth, seventh seed roles. I can tell you right now, nobody in the NFC South this year coming up is going to get the fifth, sixth, or seventh seed because it's going to go somewhere else. Guaranteed. It's win the division or bust.
That's all it is. And the Bucs are still talent-wise are in the best position. Panthers rebuilding, Falcons definitely rebuilding.
No one has a quarterback. I think that for me, that's the biggest thing. No one has a quarterback they're sold on. Now, the Buccaneers could be sitting on an ace in the hole that they're just not ready to use yet because they're developing it. We don't know, but we know for a fact that the Falcons haven't got a clue.
No.
I'll reiterate. I think the Falcons are the second team that has the best clue of their quarterback because at least they've got a quarterback that they've seen something from. Then we go down to the Saints. They don't have a clue because they started Jameis Winston and then took the role off him. And they've still got Jameis Winston on the roster. So he's probably going to leave at some point. They're either cut him. So they're completely clueless about their quarterback situation. And the Panthers are completely clueless about their quarterback situation. The Panthers may have money, but you've got to do something with that money. You've got to find somebody with that money.
That's right. And you got to find somebody willing to come there.
Having the quarterback is all well and good. If you don't have all the skill positions as well on top, and the Falcons, their skill positions, they're meh.
Right. And let's go back to the Panthers. I mean, CJ Moore, if that's your number one guy, that's not speaking a lot. He's a B average receiver.
Number two.
Yeah, number two. He's a number two guy. Everybody, that's why I said everybody else, you said it's like the NFC South is not, it's not like, oh my goodness, these teams are going to come out of nowhere. The Bucs still have the best chance because they still on paper have the best, they have the most consistent defense. Their line is going to get healthy. I don't, unless like it would take the Falcons, the Panthers, and the Saints to have, they would have to have a miraculous draft where their first 5 picks are solid. They need more solid picks than we do. Their 5 picks, they have to be super solid. And I don't see that.
I see the order right now. I see the Falcons, if they can find a quarterback, can be really competitive. I think the Panthers are the next one up because they have such a good. If they continue what they got, have a good run game. I think the Saints are in the biggest hole because they have the biggest cap drop, and they've just technically they have no idea who their quarterback is. They have no money to spend realistically to go and get a quarterback. We know they can manipulate the cap, but if they can manipulate the cap, trust me, the Buccaneers can manipulate the cap. So the whole cap thing isn't going to be a big deal for us. But I do believe they are so far behind the curve, and they've just, I'm trying to remember. Alvin Kamara's just had a fucking lawsuit that's gone wrong.
Yeah,
so that's potentially going to end in suspension this year, and I do believe.
I think he will. I think he will. I think he is going to get suspended. And then also on the defensive side, they're getting up there in age. Cam Jordan is getting up there. Demario Davis is solid, but it's really they only have three pieces: Demario Davis, Cam Jordan, and our Marshawn Lattimore. But Cam Jordan is getting old. I wouldn't be surprised if like the Cam Jordans of the world, he maybe gets 6-7 sacks, and he's just a role player. And Demario is only going to do the best that he can. You're right though. The Taints. I'm sorry, the Saints. The Saints will they're gonna feel it the worst. The Falcons have a shot, but at the same time, that's still a 50-50. That's a guess because we don't know what's gonna happen. Because if Kyle Pitts doesn't take the next level and he's just the flashing guy, that's not gonna help them either. Panthers, they're another one. Everybody is still developing. The Bucs still are left in a better situation. The Bucs still, again, we just said their line. They're just one piece away on that line from being dangerous. Now, their quarterback, if I tell you, if Trask can just be average, the Bucs win 10 games in that division. They'll be 10 games. 10 games. Tell you that right now. I can guarantee you 10
I
games.
think you can't rule it out for sure.
You cannot rule it out. So that's my pick on everything right now. I'll have more news once the draft, they start doing more of the combine. I think the combine is coming up next month.
Yeah, combines in March, so it's free agency. Look, it is what it is, and we'll find out what the Buccaneers are going to do. Whatever the Buccaneers do in free agency is going to massively affect the draft class or who they go after in the draft. Yes. Buccaneers can't afford to go best available. They have to fill spots.
They have to fill spots.
As much as they would love to go, oh, we've already got a good such and such. This guy's just sitting here. Oh, let's go get him. No, they have to go and fit people in because unless that person, like, let's say for the sake of argument, I would say if an edge rusher came up, that's the one where I would have to think a little bit hard now because I'm like, I need a left tackle, I need a defensive tackle, and I don't need an edge rusher. I could do with an edge rusher. That's a tough one because unless that guy, like, there's a reason they dropped as well. So there's so many variables that come in. That's what makes draft day so much fun because sometimes players drop down that you don't think. I didn't think Jalen Hurts would go down as low as he did. I thought he was early second round pick, in my opinion.
Yeah. I kind of figured he'd be where he was just because they paid attention to more of his running and they didn't believe that he was going to be a passer. But yes, I see what you're saying. Mm-hmm. It is going to be interesting because it might be a situation like where the Bucs pick someone that shouldn't have dropped, but because of the wrong analysis, he came to the Bucs. Antoine Winfield should have never gone to the Bucs, and we got him. Chris Godwin should have never gone to the Bucs, and we got him. Mm-hmm. It's just you sometimes you get lucky.
4th round pick. So yeah. You just don't know what shakes out. You find the right people, the right coaching. Sometimes it just clicks.
It just clicks, and I think that's what's going to happen in this situation. The Bucs are going to find a way to have it click, and we're going to be all right. So I'm going to send it off on this one. But yes, we'll be talking about this a lot more, guys. Again, just because the season's over doesn't mean Bucs report's over. We got a lot to discuss, and especially when we see this draft and free agency. So if there's something big, we're going to talk about it. So, but yeah, guys, again, just I'm going to be making other videos soon on about Bucking Time. And for folks out there who need inspiration for the gym and stuff and just want to turn up and look good, this is my stuff. You can always go to aj.myspreadshop.com. Check my Instagram at AJ Turnup on everything. And yes, get the good merchandise. Got a sale going on now. And of course, you're gonna catch me here with Bucs Report with my man Slick. This is the guy right here.
Oh yeah, baby.
Yes. On that note, always a pleasure. You have a good night. Cause what is it, 5 over there?
4:00.
Yeah, you go to bed. Get some rest, my man.
I gotta be up in about 4 hours.
Get some rest. But always a pleasure talking to you, and
always a pleasure to talking to you. Yeah, you're my bro host, so
my man. Well, and in the words of everybody in here, go Bucs.
Go Bucs. Okay, guys. that's the end of the show. Let's look. We've got a lot of things to unpack. We've got things to look forward to. We got things to see what's going to shape this Buccaneers team in the next couple of next few weeks. Combine's coming up, the meat market, as some people call it. We're going to be looking at guys who can. Oh, this D lineman can move. This wide receiver can shift. Anyway, we still got to get through free agency and figure out who we're keeping, and not just figure it out. Offer these guys, because they're gonna be some of these guys are not gonna come back. We got to find the right ones to come back, and I believe that's Anthony Nelson. I believe that's Aaron Stinney, and I believe that's one of the safeties, whichever one it might be. I don't know, and it will probably be one of the cornerbacks, and hopefully Levante David would be the crowning jewel, in my opinion, to bring him back for another 2 years or what have you. And I'm sure he's more of one of those guys who's going to take a closer to team friendly deal, because he wants the Bucs to succeed. He is Mr. Buck. He's the Mr. Buccaneers on the defensive side of football for the last almost decade. So it is what it is. We got to get that right, and then once we know what our free agency is, that's when the real mock draft comes in for this team. We can all speculate. We have no idea what this team's really going to look like, who we're going to move on from, how are we going to make cuts, or who are we restructuring, how much money are we going to get. All that's about to come through. But it's going to be exciting. We started off strong. We got a very technically spoken, sound offensive coordinator. We're waiting to see how that shakes up. I'm not worried about that. He's never called plays since JV. That's fine. I never call plays. Everyone learns to call plays at some point, but eventually you got to make those calls. How you do it, he's been around a lot of tutelage to know how to do it. He's been through a few offensive coordinators, and that's a good thing. That's a good thing, because it means he's seen different ways of doing the same job. That means he'll have his preference on how he wants to do it. I remember I went from one scheme into another, and they're the same scheme on paper. They're both 4-2-5 defenses, but they do it in very different ways. And I would say, if I was writing my own playbook right now, it'd be a mixture of what I've always believed in, a mixture of what I'm learning now, what I'm doing now, and a mixture of my past as well. And that's the beauty of it. The more you're around, the more broader your brain is when it comes to thinking about how you're going to have your offense, how you're going to run this, how you're going to play cool, how you're going to do that. And I think that's what excites me about Dave Canales, is the fact that he's been around some good minds. He's been around a culture machine known as Pete Carroll, who is an absolute buzz of energy even in his 70s. He's a very animated, loud, energetic human being. All that hopefully rubs off on him, rubs off on our players, and we start moving the football. We start getting a bit of swagger about ourselves, and we start stacking wins. That's what I'm hoping for. Hey, Bucs on me, Bucs on 3. 1, 2, 3. Go Bucs!